All right, everybody. We got for you another very special guest. Some might say it's a bad idea to bring this guy on, but we decided anyways to bring on Dinesh Shamdasani. Welcome, Dinesh.
Thanks, man. I love it. We got to 2 seconds in, and there was a bad idea pun.
I mean, it's unavoidable at this point, right? Like, oh, this was a bad idea. Like, so I mean,
I love him though.
Who came up with the name? I mean, they should get all the flame for the bad idea name.
None of us actually. We had all these terrible ideas for names, and we went out to basically everyone we knew. And I have a film and TV company, and my partner in the film and TV company, Amanda Cruz, her best friend is a guy named Drew Jonda, who is a super talented comedy writer. Okay. And he put together a list of terrible names for us, and the worst of which was Bad Idea, which we fell in love with. So he gets the credit.
And I guess I didn't realize it wasn't out there yet as a small publishing name or something like Bad Idea, because it's kind of simple too, right?
No one has ever named any company Bad Idea in any industry ever. We're the first.
Wow.
Because I deal with trademarks all the time. So when we name books, I look at the trademarks, and so often it's taken in some category. Mm-hmm. Bad Idea is available in every category in the world for any business you want.
I never realized that either. The trademarking of titles for books, right? So do you ever do you have titles for stuff? You guys are you can't use that. You got to
all the time. At Valiant, we had it especially. And occasionally I would just we had Divinity, which we couldn't use from a trademark standpoint. And I told the editor-in-chief, Warren Simons, I told him, shh, don't tell anybody. We're just going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because it was too good. It was too perfect a title.
Right. So it was more of a ask for forgiveness, not permission kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I figured if it worked, we would have the momentum to be able to change it to something else, which ultimately we did. Actually, we changed the book to Eternity, which was available on the fourth miniseries.
Yeah, that's weird. The things that you do find available, right? That's
But stuff lapses as well, so you have to keep an eye on it. Stuff can go in and out of trademark.
So it's really funny to me because I started doing this show with some friends where we're going through the 2012 reboot of Valiant Comics.
Yeah.
And since then, all you Valiant people have just been flocking to me like crazy. It's a nice little family we got going on here.
Who have you had recently?
We just talked to Joshua Dysart the other day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? That's right.
Ah. Yeah, we just talked to him. Yeah, we got a little bit of insight into that. Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, and I completely forgot that was happening at the time. And you were there for that, right? You were behind the scenes kind of orchestrating everything when that was going on.
Yeah, I was the CEO.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, your origin story really quick. Then we can talk about Bad Idea. But
sure.
Where did it all really start for you in comics? How did that happen?
In comics?
Yeah.
I became I'll tell you very quickly because it'll be boring. I became a fan. I grew up in Hong Kong, and there were no comic book stores in Hong Kong. I was a big movie guy. And I had one friend whose dad would make business trips to the United States. He'd bring back a suitcase full of comics. And this guy was a very entrepreneurial guy. And so he gave all his friends one free comic book, one that he thought would be the least likely to be desired ever again.
Right.
He gave me a random issue of Superman. He gave me an Adventures of Superman issue 497. Which at the time we didn't know was the lead up to Doomsday at Death Superman. So it became a really a prized possession in my little group. And then the 90s boom hit, and the store opened up in Hong Kong, and we all became big readers. But you couldn't really get anything in Hong Kong because it was hard to ship them over there. They became expensive with shipping. But I became addicted, we all did, to Wizard Magazine. So I learned a lot about comics from Wizard Magazine and the Marvel Universe trading cards.
Yep.
And then got out of comics, went to film school. When I came to America to go to film school, I started to buy all the old Valiant comics again on eBay. They were super cheap. And I read them for the first time, and they were amazing. They blew my mind. And then as I was getting close to graduating, I was trying to figure out how to break into the movie business. And I was at Universal Studios working. I told them I'd graduate. A lot of people do this. I told them I'd graduated, even though I hadn't. And I just took 2 days sick a week and did my classes then. But I remember walking into Universal Monday morning after X-Men 1 had opened, and no one on the lot knew why it had opened at 54 million. And I felt like this is obvious. It's the cartoons, the toys, the comics. We hear Snicked for the first time. And then I remember a couple months later, same thing happened the Monday after Spider-Man opened. It was the biggest box office of all time, 114.
Yep.
And then I had an epiphany. I might be ahead of the curve a little bit. Let me figure out if this can help me. And I looked into Valiant, and I found that they had been bought by a video game company. That video game company had mismanaged them. They went into bankruptcy. The video game company took Valiant with it. and they were going to come up for an auction, which is crazy. Like, what am I going to do? Buy Valiant? Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Then I read a rumor that Film Roman had bought Valiant for $48,000. Film Roman are an animation company.
Right.
And I thought, well, shit, it's a lot of money, but I could maybe figure Valiant's worth a lot more than that. I could have figured it out. Rumor turned out to be false. So I called a buddy of mine, same guy who gave me that first comic. His parents are wealthy. And I said, we should try this. We'll learn, if nothing else. And we tried, and we did our due diligence, and we learned. And it was such a messed up process, such a distressed asset, that of the 86 parties that did due diligence, only 3 went to bid.
Wow.
We came in second. The lead bidder pulled out because there was a fourth party that, speaking of trademarks, filed intent to use trademarks and trying to blackmail them into partnering.
That's crazy.
So the lead bidder pulled out. The third party, they'd put their money elsewhere, so it was just us. We negotiated a discounted price, then spent 2.5 years fighting a legal battle, and then spent the next 5 years trying to figure out how publishing even works.
Right.
Which, newsflash, it's a terrible business.
Yeah.
And most companies lose money. And then Marvel was sold to Disney, and a bunch of the executives left and cashed out. And I hooked up with Peter Cuneo and Gavin Cuneo. Peter was the CEO of Marvel, and put together a team. Peter was our chairman, and we launched in 2012.
Wow,
that's my abridged. I try to make it short. Sorry, that was a little long.
No, it's so interesting to see it on the business side of it. Because I mean, we've talked to people at Ahoy and stuff like that, but what you were doing is on a little bit larger scale than some
it wasn't meant to
publishers.
Be.
Yeah,
I wanted to do it. I really felt I loved Valiant. It's my favorite thing ever, and I felt like no one was going to make more Valiant comic books unless I did it myself. And in order to do that, in order to make more Valiant comic books, I had to figure out how to be a businessman and learn the business of comics and all these other skills that I had no intention or even knowledge that I would be having to learn when I started this journey.
Why did you eventually leave Valiant?
I didn't. I was forced out, which was inevitable. So I knew from the start, if I was successful looking at other companies in the name space or anywhere like ours, starting so small, starting distressed, that if we were successful in trying to do what I wanted to do, someone would come in and either fire me or buy me out or force me out. And eventually, I had a good run at 8 years, publishing 15 altogether. 8 years in, a Chinese company named DMG they liked the business enough, they wanted to own the whole thing, and they bought a bunch of the other investors out and essentially checkmated me and put me in a position where I was forced to resign. They paid me very well. Not quite market, but very well. So no one should feel bad for me. And then I was without a job. I had to figure out the next thing to do.
So you said publishing was a terrible business to get into. So then you went back into Bad Idea.
Hence the name Bad Idea. The name.
So what the hell? Why'd you go back?
It's a terrible business, but here's the thing: it's super fun. So after I left Valiant, Bloodshot went into production, and Sony brought me on. Valiant didn't want me to have anything to do with it. Sony brought me on, and I worked for Sony, essentially producing that movie.
Interesting. Okay.
And movies are everything you expect them to be. Every detail needs to be thought about. It's an incredible amount of work. They're generally built by committee. We had a lot of autonomy. Sony were actually very good to us, and we were in South Africa, so there was no way that people could just fly out to see us on set. So we never had any executives on set. I became essentially the lead producer because the other producer didn't want to turn up. And although I did have Toby Jaffe there, which was awesome. He was the other producer on it. He was great and really mentored everybody. And we had a first-time director. So Dave Wilson, the director, and I were both first time making a big movie like this. That was a really cool experience for both of us. But it's different. It's not as fun. With comic books, you have a very small team. You've got the writer, the artist, yourself, maybe an editor, 4 people. The path to market is really quick. You can come up with an idea, and 90 days later, it's on the stands. There's a hit of adrenaline. There's a hit of dopamine that comes. It's really fun. So creatively, comics are amazing. As a business, it's not great. But now I do both. I have a film and TV company, and I do comic books. I split my time.
That's awesome. That's the best of both worlds then.
Yeah, and the other thing I should say that a lot of people don't understand about Bad Idea is we're unlike any other publisher. And people say that, but legitimately we are, because everyone else, they have to run it like a business. They're trying to be a business.
Right.
We genuinely are not. We genuinely are just producing comic books we want to read and selling them the way on our terms. And if people don't come, that's okay. And if people come, great. We've had a lot more success than we thought we would. We really thought more people would be reticent to trying our books.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that is? Is it like the FOMO, the fear of missing out? Is it the awesome the plots that you've been, like dinosaurs and robot mechs are like, come on, like tankers was, I saw that and I was like, this is gonna be my book of the year. What the hell? What do you think is, bringing
I think
all
it's
these
a few
people
things.
Yeah.
I think we underestimated how many people would follow us from Valiant.
Mm-hmm.
I figured we were a bunch of executives. Nobody cared about us.
Mm-hmm.
I think we underestimated how much the fan base loves the creators. And I think we underestimated where the market is in terms of fresh ideas. I think we underestimated how many sick individuals there are that like the crazy marketing that we do, that really just is pain. It's just causing pain to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pandemic helped a lot. We essentially launched and were very loudly marketing in a period where everybody else was afraid to market. That helped us. And I think, lastly, we underestimated how many stores would get behind us. Mm-hmm. I thought we'd have 25 to 50. Right now, we're at 254 stores with another 150 in the wings waiting to get in.
Awesome.
Which is great. I think FOMO is a part of it too.
Yeah.
I hear stories about, at Valiant, I would always have to worry about people going to the counter and they've got, I've got too much books. This is too much money. What do I get rid of? Mm-hmm. And Valiant was close to the first thing they'd get rid of. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you were never going to get rid of Wolverine before you got rid of Bloodshot.
Yeah, you wouldn't drop your Batman book. Right.
Yeah. For Ninjak or something. Here, what I'm hearing over and over again is people get to the counter, they see the bad idea books because we insist they're only on the counter. They go, I got to get these. They put them on their stack and they pull out 4 or 5 books and say, I don't want those. And part of it, what I'm hearing, is because people worry that if they don't get them, they're never going to see them again. The books are going to disappear.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have a lot of locations. Our runs are small comparatively.
Mm-hmm.
What goes behind the idea of like what you guys are doing? Like, why limit it so much? Why not do digital? Why not do trades? Why not do all these things that are frankly standard in the industry?
Yeah, great question. I think, again, that's another misunderstanding people have. They assume that it's because we're crazy or idiots or because we're mean or because we're trying to game the system and get everybody all worked up. Mm-hmm. The truth is we're selfish, honestly. It's too much work. We did it. We slaved in that coal mine at Valiant. And what we learned, because we played in the biggest leagues, right? We were competing with Marvel and DC without giant corporations behind our back like Time Warner and Disney, without massive icons like Wolverine and Batman. And so we had to try to be smarter, right? And we learned really all the different levers to be able to pull in comics. And we also learned which ones are not worth the effort. And so digital, it does add 8 to 10% in terms of readership. Of that, I'm going to guess 30% are repeat buys, people sampling on digital and then going to print. So it's only 8 to 10, but then you got to minus 30%. And it takes a tremendous amount of work. So we said, you know what, let's not put those resources there. Let's take those resources, put them into the books and into direct market, into physical copies. And let's just forget about that 8 to 10%. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they'll translate over. And what we've seen is they've translated over. The book market, why are we not doing trades? It's very simple. The majority of trades that we sold at Valiant and that the industry sells are sold through one retailer, Amazon. And it doesn't help us, that bad idea, to sell through Amazon, because when you're at Amazon, you're not getting a store owner saying, you got to check this out, you got to check that out. Did you know about this other bad idea book? You're going in there, the margins aren't good for us, then it hurts the retailer because they don't get that sale. Yep. It hurts the industry because no one else is buying, they're not buying anything else comics related. Mm-hmm. So we said, you know what, we don't want to help Amazon. We're just going to do monthly books in stores, and hopefully we can convert some percentage of the trade waiters to monthlies. Mm-hmm. And if not, that's okay. We're built to be very small. Mm-hmm. Our crew is tiny. We have a 5-person crew. At Valiant, I had a 50-person crew.
Right.
And are all your books creator owned, or in terms of like they get the rights and everything?
No, we don't. We don't do either of the two models. The two models that run in publishing are Marvel, DC, Valiant, or work for hire. The company owns everything, and then the other model is either on one extreme is Image, they own everything. On the other side of it is like Dark Horse or Boom, where maybe they were 25-50%. We don't have to talk about the mechanics of it. I leave that to the creators to talk about. But we have a different model. It's a hybrid model. It's kind of a new idea, and it seems to be working. But what it does is it essentially, we try to take the best of both. I didn't love the situation at Valiant where some of the people cashed out and did really well and some of the people didn't. I know that's the way that the free market works, but try to build a better mousetrap. And then I also don't love the fully creator-owned model because the company is taking some risk, and we have to acknowledge that.
Right.
So try to find a way to do both. But it seems to be working.
And with such a small team, I mean, you're editing a lot of the books too, right?
Yeah, we've got a great editor, Warren Simons, but I mean, everybody's involved in everything. Warren's involved in marketing and publishing, and he's the co-CEO, and everyone's involved in everything.
And I think talking about the comic shop thing, I mean, from what I've seen, it's helped local comic shops out considerably, just being able to visit all these shops across the U.S. I actually got one of my coworkers into comics. I mean, we stopped at this shop because I actually, if you go on the Bad Idea website, it lists all the retailers, if people didn't know, where you can pick up these books. Yeah. And I was in the middle of nowhere in, I think it was Iowa. I can't remember where the hell I was. I travel too much, but I found a shop and I'm like, hey, this shop's right on the way. We had some time to kill before our flight back home. And I was like, we could go to a comic. He's like, we don't have enough time to go to the zoo. I'm like, well, we have enough time to go to a comic shop. He goes, hell yeah, let's go. So
I know that equation well.
Yeah.
I've done that many times.
And I'm like, so we stop in and he's like, well, what are you looking for? I'm like, well, I'm mostly digital now, but if we have people on the show, I like to pull like some indie books and, cool. Support them. And then I was like, I'm looking for some Bad Idea stuff. And I explained to him, it's like, this model of you got to be at the local comic shop to get these books. It's there to like really support them. And he picked up ENIAC #1, which was on like its 4th or 5th printing, I think, at the 4th printing.
No, we do just one. We do a strange thing. We do a not first printing. So we try not to variantize all the printings. We just we do print it over and over again. We just make it identical. No one can tell.
Okay. So it had a lot of buzz around that book of like, you got to pick this book up. And so I grabbed it and he's like, well, I'll grab one too. And then like I had talked to him a couple of weeks later because he lives in Florida and he's like, yeah, I drive like an hour to my local comic shop and I'm going to tell him to order Bad Idea and all this stuff. And I was like, man, what a great story for me to like get someone.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, he said that also his wife is pissed at me because he has like 30 books on his pull list now.
Amazing. Well, listen, we only publish 2 or 3 books a month, so of that, less than 10% is Bad Idea.
Yeah, and I mean it's people are going looking for those books, and I think it's so cool that
it's so cool to see. Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah,
man. That makes me happy.
Yeah, good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how are you? The creative teams you're getting to come in, like, are these just guys guys and gals you used to work with, or are these people pitching you ideas? How is that going for you?
It's good. We have a lot of the crew that we used. We don't even think about it really as people from Valiant now. We just think about it as like our friends or our collaborators that we had a good time with and that we work well with, because that's really important. In the same way you see like DiCaprio works with Scorsese over and over again. Not that anyone involved in Bad Idea is DiCaprio or Scorsese, but just in a creative situation, you want that kind of shorthand and collaboration. So we work with a lot of the people that we worked with before, people like Louis LaRosa, Thomas Giorello, Matt Kinn, Josh Dysart, Robin Venditti, etc. But there's people we haven't worked with before: Zeb Wells, David Lapham, who's become a huge part of what we do here. Marguerite Bennett, who's writing the lot, she's kicking ass.
Yeah, she's awesome.
We got Make Hat coming soon. There's a bunch of new people. Yeah, the lot.
Yep. Mark Russell. Mark Russell's one of our favorites. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
First time working with him for us. He's been great.
Yeah. What book did he do for you guys?
He's got a book coming up called Last Resorts.
Yep. Yeah, he's got one coming out.
It's called, we're actually doing it as a double. So we did this once before, Whalesville and Rocks and Minerals. We're doing a book called Refuse X Last Resorts, which is a Marguerite Sauvage story, written by Matt Kint, drawn by Marguerite Sauvage, and then Last Resorts, which is drawn by Adam Polina, written by, this Whalesville.
Yeah, and I was going to talk to you about that. So as a collector, I put trades on my shelves, and I put single issues in my box.
Yeah, so where do you put that?
So I don't know what the hell to do with this. Thing's been sitting on my trade shelf. So now I need a hybrid spot for these types of books that are like, because this is, I mean,
it's a new format.
Yeah, it's a new format, right? It's a little bit more than a single issue, but it has more content. There's 2 stories in here.
Yeah. So we worked really hard with the printer. Our printer's great.
Yeah.
To do
How did that come about?
Actually, where is it? Is it here? There was one book. I kept pointing to one book, and I was like, this I want it to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen the Vengeance of Bane, the old '90s book, Vengeance of Bane?
It's got a little spine on it. Oh yeah. Vengeance of Bane.
It's a 64-page square bound book.
I know exactly.
And I kept pointing that, being like, "Look, we can do." They did square bound at 64 pages. We're 72 pages. Can we do it? And then we added some accoutrements that we did a nicer cover, and we did some gloss, all these things. So it's a little bit like a trade, but it's mostly like a single issue. It's a weird thing. We loved it. We're going to do another one. That's what Refuge Last Resort is. And it sold really well.
Yeah, I think it's because it's a completed story, right? So you have those trade readers that come in and say, "Oh, I can just pick this up. It's a completed story. It's got 2 stories in there." Yeah. I think it's a really cool idea. And you're right. The last time I've seen it, I think was Vengeance of Bane, because I have those 2 issues. That's really cool.
Nothing we've ever done at Valiant or Bad Ideas original. It's always stolen from somewhere.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you've already had the first series. Now, everybody was like, that was the end of Bad Idea. But now, obviously, we know the next issue's coming out. September, we have Monster Kill Squad.
Well, we're over in December. After December, that's it. Bad Idea's done.
It? Oh, really?
That's legitimately it. Yeah, that's what Bad Idea is over. We announced Bad Idea is over, and partly because we upset people. We get them the cortisone shot. And stores are making money with us, and they're doing really well. But also, we ask a lot of them. There's a lot of time they have to spend thinking about it. A lot of hoops they got to jump through.
Right.
And we didn't expect to be this size. We expected to be much smaller. Mm-hmm. So we built a foundation for a 50-store rollout with hundreds of readers, not a 154 store rollout with thousands of readers. And things are starting to break. And so the last couple of months, for instance, you've seen we've missed our street date by a week 3 times. Mm-hmm. We're having issues with our pins, our sticker redemption program. Almost everything is just fraying a little bit. And as we get closer to December, it'll fray and fray more. I think ultimately when we get to December, people will be like, thank God, go away, because it's just all going to break.
Right.
But we really picked a date, and we were like, we can probably hold it together with bubble gum and duct tape till then.
Yeah.
And then it's going to fall apart and implode.
So before we get to the end.
Yeah.
Those are my air quotes, not his, everybody.
Yeah, as we know it.
Yeah.
You did introduce 2 new programs this past month that were interesting, and you and I actually had a dialogue on Twitter about them. One being the pin program, and then the other being the passive aggressive program. So let's start with passive aggressive. What went through that process? Where'd you get that from?
It was something we actually tried to do at Valiant. We did a book called Book of Death that Rob Venditti wrote, and there's a famous book in Valiant lore called Rye Issue 0, which jumped forward in time. It ran through essentially the history of the future history of the Valiant universe over the next 2,000 years, showing the death of a bunch of the major characters and major events. And their plan was to tell those stories over the next decade. And we thought, well, we'll do the same thing. It's a wonderful idea. So we did a book called Book of Death, and it showed the deaths of all these characters, and it showed introductions to a bunch of new characters, all these events that were going to happen. And we were legitimately going to do all these things. We had plans for them all. And we thought it'd be fun. There was an 8-page sequence in the first issue that was like a huge flash forward, all these crazy things. And we thought it'd be fun to do 2 8-page sequences and ship them separately. So people would be like, oh my God, you see this? And other people would be like, no, I didn't get that in mine. Mine had this.
Right.
Ran out of time. We always liked the idea. So when we had Passive Aggressive, Matt Kint wrote 2 issues. Same story, 2 different POVs. One from the vigilante and one from the hacker. And each one, when you read the hacker story, you think of him as the hero. When you read the vigilante story, you think of the hacker as the villain, vice versa. We thought, okay, well, we should do this here. Passive Aggressive, it feels like the right point of view. So we printed the book twice, different interiors, same cover, shipped half of them to the East Coast, half of them to the West Coast. Didn't tell anybody. And we did this big sticker program where if you pre-ordered the last 5 Bad Idea books, you got a sticker. What the sticker allowed you to do was get a second copy of Passive Aggressive, which everyone thought was because we have this rule, 1 per customer. The truth is, it's because we had 2 versions of the book, or two different stories. We wanted them to be able to get both if they couldn't go on eBay or couldn't find it in the store. Wow. So we've had a bunch of redemptions on it. Essentially, what you do is you just send us shipping and handling with your sticker, and we send you whatever version of the book you're missing.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
It seems to have done well, but it's controversial because some people look at Passive Aggressive as a variant because we don't do variants,
right?
And they really try to hold our feet to the fire in terms of you said this. I don't know. I suppose there is an argument to say it's a variant, but to me, it doesn't feel like a variant. It's not a variation on the existing. One isn't a variation on the other. They have the same cover, but they're completely different stories.
Right.
it feels to me like it's a Ender's Game, Ender's Shadow kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah, you're telling the same story essentially, but it's from two different characters' perspectives, so the story changes because of that.
Yeah, absolutely, like a Rashomon thing, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what about the pin program? So everybody, if you didn't know, you go day one to get these books, you get a little pin that says you were the first customer, and you're doing something with that too.
Yeah, we've got a couple hundred locations and of Bad Idea destination stores, and if you're the first person at each location to buy a copy, whether you've pre-ordered or not, you get a gold pin. It's this ridiculously large gold pin. Mm-hmm. And we didn't tell anyone what they were for. We just recently revealed they're essentially like a currency, Bad Idea bucks or something. Every now and then we'll announce different opportunities that you can spend your pins on. So the first one is we have these two books. One is called Werewolf by Peter Milligan and Robert Gill. The other one is called Retirement Plan by Matt Kinn and Juan Jose Rip. And the only way to get these two books is to submit one pin each with shipping and handling. Mm-hmm. So they're exclusive to the pin program. And then at some point later on, we'll do other things. Maybe we'll do live events. Maybe we'll do, maybe our conventions will be tied into it. Maybe we'll do other books, but we'll do other things for the pins at some point.
That's really cool.
I mean, it's made everyone crazy because they want these pins now.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I've heard.
And I can't tell you the problems that we go through with these pins because people fight over who was there first, and sometimes the stores lose them, or people lie about not getting them. It's just a whole nightmare.
People selling them on eBay for $10,000.
We had to we threw a store out of the program because they did that. There was one store that sold the pins on eBay instead of handing them to customers, and we found out.
Can't be doing that. No.
And we're very strict with the rules.
I mean, it all boils down to, though, you're getting more people into I mean, I have to assume it's more people are coming to local comic shops for this because it's not just as simple as like being able to order them online and the buzz that you guys were drumming up about these books. It's like I think in the end it had to be good. Yeah. I mean, it's like people are going into comic shops. And like you said, if you're ending in December, I have someone that I know personally that's still into comics that aren't, by just Bad Idea. They're by a lot of other creators. So
right. We've heard that a lot. I mean, we make everybody, the stores, the creators, the customers, everybody jump through hoops. So we try and make it worth their while. For the readers, we include an 8-page backup, brand new story in every single issue. That's a freebie. For the stores, we make them do this pin program, but the hope is that more people go to the stores. I see lines every Wednesday that we drop a book. Our Twitter or social media is full of people taking pictures of themselves in line. Right. Even if they're not the first customer, they will line up because they're afraid that the book's going to be sold out.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
We never had that at Valiant. I never see any of the independent publishers do that. I've had Marvel and DC both call and say, how do your programs work exactly? We want to replicate them. So they're working. So they're good for the business. Right. I think.
Yeah. That's interesting. How do we get people to line up for our books? Batman 108 comes out next week. How do we get people to line up for that?
It's nuts, right?
Yeah, that is pretty insane. And I mean, Chris and I have talked about quite a bit the last rollout you guys have had with Tankers and ENIAC and stuff. But you have 2 books coming out September 1st, right? So let's talk about those. Monster Kill Squad #1. I know Chris and I won't shut up about this. What is this book all about?
Monster Kill Squad is insane. Christos Gage wrote it, and Thomas Giorello drew it. Thomas is incredible. He's a force of nature. And this book is essentially every monster you can think of, every movie monster, book monster, whatever, they all really do exist. And they have existed the whole time. It's just such a rare occurrence that we don't really understand this. And suddenly they're all constantly, every week there's a new monster crisis. And this team, the Monster Kill Squad, the very stupidly named Monster Kill Squad, gets sent in and they take the team down. So they take the monster down. So the first issue, the opening is there's a clown at a college campus. And you see the SWAT team go in and get absolutely annihilated by this clown. And the Monster Kill Squad goes in and you discover it's 2 or 3 different clowns working together. So there's like an it clown, there's like a spider clown, there's like a demon clown, there's different clowns that you've seen in pop culture in different places.
Right.
And what they were trying to do, the clowns, is they were trying to get something from the archaeology department, a shard of a box. And there's even a line in the book where they're trying to figure out what box it is, the Monster Kill Squad. And they're like, is it like a Pandora's box? Is it like a Ticket to Hell box? Is it like a Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a box? Like, what kind of box is this? So it's a very culturally referenced book.
Yeah.
And we discovered that this Pandora's box was opened and all these monsters have come out. And now we've got to grab them all. But it's like a big action testosterone kind of shoot 'em up book.
And that's awesome. I mean, it looks amazing. And a little on the, or actually no, that's not in September. Pirate Queen is in September as well, right?
Pirate Queen, which is my favorite book of everything we've done so far. My favorite book by far. It's written by Peter Milligan. It's drawn by Adam Polina. He did an amazing job. And so the premise is this: it's your traditional kind of revenge story. So things like Kill Bill or something like that. Okay. But it takes place in the pirate days. And the idea is that this is true. In the days of pirates, when the British were hunting pirates, they would not kill. They would hang the pirates, but they would not hang you if you were a pirate and you were pregnant with child, because they wouldn't kill the child. And so we have a story about this pirate, Monday Ryan, and she's pregnant, and her ship gets captured, and they won't hang her. They'll hang the rest of the crew, including her husband, and they set her adrift in the ocean to die. And she survives, and she decides to hunt them all down one by one and kill them all. But while she's doing this, she's getting more and more pregnant. So she's got a ticking clock. Before she gives birth, she needs to murder all these guys, all these people. And of course, which we never really see in these kind of stories, they start to realize they're being hunted, and they band together and start to chase her back. Oh. But I don't want to give too much away. It's Peter's done an incredible job. The ending is incredible. The last issue is no one's going to see it coming. I think it's a really, really smart an evolution of this genre, which is really hard to do.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
So I'm excited about it.
No, I mean, they sound awesome, and like you said, more stores are rolling out to order these books, right? So I mean, that your website's updated with who's carrying these books to go find them, right?
Yeah, we were adding stores for a little while. We're not adding them at the moment because we just, again, the program is kind of buckling from the weight. Right. We're trying to figure out how to add more stores, but with the time we have left before Bad is over, I don't know if we'll figure it out.
So part of your final five, we talked about two of them. Actually, we talked about three of them because Passive Aggressive was a part of it as well, correct? Yeah. And then, the Refuse, Last Resorts was another part of it.
Yeah, that's the fourth one.
And then, what was the fifth?
The
fifth one is Odin's Eye.
Yeah, we had Joshua Dysart on to talk about that, but
which is also drawn by Thomas Giarello, and that's Josh just world building. Yeah, legit, people say Game of Thrones all the time. Josh literally just built like a world.
Yeah, and it's he talked about more of it's not the Norse Vikings fighting or something. He's like it's more of the religious or the folk aspect of like what these people believe in, right? Or like
that's what makes Josh such a great writer. I mean, he's focused on that, but then you read the book, and there's just giant dark troll fights. And there's, the premise is Odin famously traded his eye for wisdom. One day decides, I got a bum deal. I want my fucking eye back.
Right.
And he gives a vision to this little girl, this barbaric little girl, and she puts together a team, like a 7 samurai team of Visigoth barbarians, or Norse barbarians, and they go through the world tree, through like this legendary land, like Ray Harryhausen, skeletons with swords, Medusas, all this stuff to go get this eye back.
It sounds awesome.
It's cool.
The art is amazing.
Yeah, and Thomas is a guy I've never heard of before, and on both of these books, the preview images I've seen, stunning.
Yeah.
Where did you find this guy?
Yeah.
He came from Louis LaRosa, who I think is maybe the most talented person alive. And Thomas are very good friends, and Louis brought Thomas in, and they're just like a 1-2 punch from I don't know, from where I'm at. They're incredible.
It's so awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for everything. Maybe
he looks like Jim Lee. He looks like early Jim Lee.
Yeah,
I think he's incredible.
Yeah. No, I see it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, now that you say that,
like X-Men period, not like early Alpha Flight, but like peak 90s Jim Lee.
Yeah, with the
Jim Lee's obviously become like such a well-rounded, versatile artist.
Yeah, that picks and chooses what he wants to draw on now. Sometimes.
Yeah, and can work in like 30 styles.
So you said that's it for December. Maybe eventually we'll be talking to you about comics again. Hopefully,
I mean, no one involved in Bad Idea is done making comics. It's just this crazy idea needs. If we were to figure something out to come back or whatever, it would really require us to rethink the whole model from the ground up. And so I don't know that would even be a Bad Idea. There would be maybe another completely different thing, or maybe it would be Bad Idea with some changes. I don't know. But at the moment, we were crushed by, again, 5-person team. So you can imagine how much work we're doing.
Right, that's a lot, yeah.
and we're just so focused on keeping the thing floating, keeping this turkey flying.
And are you? I mean, you could always focus more on your production company, right? But like you said, you want that fulfillment out of the comics. So
yeah,
do you think you don't think you'll ever really step away from comics? Or
no, comics they're too much fun.
Yeah,
they're too much fun. I like every aspect of comics. I like the reading, I like the building, I like the collecting, I like the whole industry. It's a bunch of really nice people too. Hollywood's a bunch of egotistical assholes. Terrible people.
You know, it's funny. We've actually we've worked with some people that are comic book writers and have done stuff in Hollywood, like other things, and we won't single people out, but we've heard some interesting stories here and there. That's for sure.
Hollywood people are terrible. There's too much money.
Yeah.
The funny thing about comics is there's not enough money for anyone to actually be an asshole.
Right.
Everyone's just happy. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for helping feed me. Thanks for
Yeah.
In Hollywood, everyone's got their mansions, and they're like, I don't need any of this. I'm the greatest ever.
Yeah.
All right,
figure it out, make it, and we'll make the money off it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you got, Chris?
I was just gonna say, so December, it's over. Are you guys? What's your plan after? Are you taking a break, and then, or are you guys gonna get in a room and say like, hey, what can we do next?
I'm mandating a January holiday for everyone in the company. Everyone's got to go. I've told them I want vacations. I want to see them on social media. I want to see you in Maui or wherever.
Yeah.
You can be at home. I don't know what's going to happen with the pandemic, but with COVID, but I want people to play video games. I want them to recharge. It's really important creatively to consume, right? Because you're not going to steal, but it's going to give you ideas. Oh, I thought they were going to do this. Or you take two disparate things and I want everyone to really recharge those batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And then February we'll get together and we'll talk about, is there a path forward? What would that path forward look like? Is it worth it? Do we want to do it? Is it something new? Is it this thing?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I've got my film and TV company. I've got a James Wan show, Gideon Falls.
Yep.
Wait, did we announce James Wan?
I don't know.
We may not have announced James Wan. I think we did. I've got a James Gunn show, which I shouldn't say what it is because we definitely not announced that.
Okay.
I've got a couple movies that I'm working on. Those are slower. They take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll focus on that a little bit. Catch up on that.
So, can we talk about the production company at all here? Or
yeah, wherever you guys want.
So you guys are working on Gideon Falls?
Yes.
So, I mean, what's that like? I mean, that as far as world building, I mean, we've had Jeff Lemire on the show.
He's great.
Amazing writer. I mean, and like the spectrum of stuff he's written. This guy went from like Black Hammer to Gideon Falls to
he's so
was it Trillium or the
Trillium?
Yeah, it's just amazing the stuff he writes. So,
Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth.
County.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth. It's like it doesn't
like the
stop.
hits keep coming.
Yeah. So
Bloodshot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Bloodshot. Yeah, there you go. I forgot about that.
Did like a 50-issue run on Bloodshot.
Yeah. That's...
Everybody remember that time when he wrote Fantastic Four for DC and then Superman for Marvel?
Yeah. Or you mean
the Terrifics and
Century. Yeah. That was his attempt at both. But I mean, so what's it like working on a show like that? I mean, what are people like holding up comic book panels? Like, it's got to look like this, like how does that work? Translating it to TV.
When it works well, it does work like that. Bloodshot works like that. We are doing that in Gideon Falls. We haven't announced it, and it's not just me, so I shouldn't spoil the reveal. But we have a showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
We have a network partner that's been a big one that everyone would be excited about, and we've got multiple scripts written. We've started designing things. We haven't got a green light yet.
Mm-hmm.
Just waiting on the stuff's been announced.
Yeah,
because you don't want to announce it. I'll get everyone excited, and then it doesn't happen.
Right.
Because if it doesn't happen, you want to be able to retool it, or you want to let someone else, as from a producing standpoint, someone else take a shot at it. Mm-hmm. James Wan's our partner. He'll probably direct the pilot. But it's fun. I mean, there's a responsibility too, because I've worked with Jeff before, and so I feel the weight of making sure we get this done and making sure we get it done right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also fun, and Jeff is really. He gives a lot of freedom, which is interesting because he's like, look, I have my own thing. It's the book. You guys do whatever you think is necessary, but we're staying pretty true to the source material. We're deviating a little bit only because the medium is different,
mm-hmm.
and the point of view is different, and we have to expand to build kind of a 5 season arc. So if we were lucky enough to get on the air and get that far, it would start to deviate just because the books are a shorter story.
But
it's slow.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm thinking about like how James Wan approaches things too. I mean, it's because he has a vision for things, obviously, especially horror related. That it's got to be amazing to sit down with him too and talk about.
Dude, he's a genius.
Yeah, about
he's a straight genius.
No, and
the people that work with him.
Yeah, they get. I mean, just the way he approaches any scene in a horror movie is like he just gets it.
He's really focused with Gideon Falls. What they're excited about is the main character, Norton, is essentially a character. It's a different kind of character we often see in this type of genre because he's a character that is struggling through mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
He's not sure if he's got delusions, if he's schizophrenic, if he's got hallucinations, or if he's seeing this black barn. If you guys read the book, this black barn, and so that's really interesting, and it gives us something identifiable, universal to walk through and enter the story in. But then it gets into kind of, without spoiling it, parallel dimensions, multi-dimensions.
That was the thing that kind of escalated for me, because I'm reading, it's a horror book, and I enjoy horror comics and stuff. But the other creepier part to me is like it's beyond space and time, which was like that blew my mind. Like having a story that's beyond space and time for a horror book, but you're not in space. You know what I mean? Like you're not floating around on a space station and time is passing slower there. It's on Earth. It's rooted in like what this guy thinks is a mental illness or something, right?
Yeah.
It just makes
that's where Jeff's a genius.
Yeah.
It starts as, and this is why James Wan got excited about it. It starts as psychological horror and becomes existential horror, which is I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, and I think it's
maybe Lovecraft, but it's not being adapted.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. That's so cool. You guys are getting to work on that. We were really excited when it got announced. So
fingers crossed if we get it over the finish line.
Yeah. So I think you'd be quite busy during January, anyways.
Yeah. I like working. Yeah. I'm very lucky to be able to do all these things.
Yeah,
I don't forget that.
That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about that you're doing with the production company, or?
What else are we doing? We're doing Luther Strode, Strange Case of Luther Strode. Justin Jordan.
Yeah.
He's writing that. We have a director on that. I don't think we've announced the director, so I shouldn't say who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Movie or show?
Film.
That
one's a film.
Very cool.
Such a great
a movie. Not that there's a difference. Film.
Yeah.
Motion. Yeah. It's a motion picture.
Motion picture. There you go.
A feature-length theatrical motion picture. Although I don't know if anything's theatrical anymore.
True.
What else can I talk about? I'm trying to remember what we could talk about. Doing weird fantasy. Based on the old EC comic book.
Really?
That's probably the most exciting thing.
Really?
That we're doing. We have a massive showrunner, huge showrunner, massive director, huge interest.
I can't believe that's coming back. That's amazing.
Yeah, what I think excited everyone about it is, first of all, the story. If you haven't read them, the stories are among the best stories ever written in comics. Are those EC stories? Weird fantasy, I think, is the pinnacle of what they did at EC. But the stories are all, they've got their own EC twist, but they're all, there's kind of a social agenda behind them, or social consciousness behind them. So the denuclearization, anti-racism, anti gender inequality, demilitarization, that kind of point of view, which for decades really wasn't part of the cultural narrative in the way it is now, because of whichever way you face, because of the political climate, we're talking about old things again.
Mm-hmm.
And so the stories have become incredibly relevant again.
Amazing.
So they carry this new weight that's gotten a lot of really big talent excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's so big that my producer partner Amanda and I often talk about how long until we get pushed to the side, because the level of talent that's come in is so big. We're like, okay, at some point they're gonna be
someone's gonna kick us out.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, here's a check, you get your name's on the thing, go away, we'll see you at the premiere.
You'll be in the credits and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, but so far we're still here.
That's awesome.
That begs the question, when you're with your production company, are you focusing a lot on comic properties, and is that on purpose, or is that just the reality of Hollywood today?
It's partly the IP's the reality of Hollywood. So we do all sorts of things. We've got something, we announced it, Let's Play, which is a webtoon. I remember we announced that. We've got some books. We've got video games, do a lot of video games. Don't know if we've announced any of the video games yet. But very, very few originals. The business just doesn't want them, unfortunately. But for us, kind of our brand at our company is to, generally what people do in producing is the agencies will run around and say, this is the thing that's being shopped, and everyone bids on it, and they bring it to their home studio, and the studios all see the same things. And it's dictated by this representation, this agency process. I hate that. Because all my favorite stuff never gets put in that system. And so our brand is essentially, we're dorks, we're nerds, we're going to go fish out and find the things that we love and then put them together and bring them to you. So whenever we bring you something, you're like, I've never heard of this, but it's awesome. We've all heard of it, but Hollywood hasn't. So like an example would be, I haven't been able to do it yet, but an example would be like We Three, which is obviously this incredible story by Grant Morrison and Frank Whiteley. It would make an incredible adaptation. I can't figure, the rights are really fractured. So I'm trying to put it together, but that's the kind of thing that Hollywood doesn't really pay attention to, but they really should. And it'll take a decade to put that together.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to spend that time. Because I work in comics and other things, I'm happy to do that. Take that time.
Cool. That's really cool.
And also, life's too short to make shitty movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
A lot of producers do that.
Yeah.
They take the money gigs and they just,
Yeah, there's some stuff we won't mention with that, but for sure. Yeah.
I actually had a
Sometimes they come out shitty. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they come out shitty. That happens.
Right.
But I know people that will go into it being like, this is not going to work. I'm like, well, why are you doing it?
Right. Why even attempt it? Yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with someone recently. It's actually an interview that'll be out in the future. Who is a Hollywood screenwriter and then kind of reignited his passion through writing comics. Do you feel that way too? Where like your Hollywood stuff, I can tell you have a passion for it, you love it, but maybe some of that passion is reinvigorated through a bad idea and whatever you do in the future.
100%. If I worked, there's two things that I think are essential in my life for being able to work in Hollywood that I get from comics. One is if I just worked in Hollywood, I would grow so jaded so quickly, because you need to have a good idea. You need two people. You need the person that has the good idea, whether it's a writer or whoever, and you need the person listening to it to understand it's a good idea. So if you write a great script, someone's got to read it and be like, wow, this is a great script. And you'd be surprised how many people go, this is garbage. Famous scripts, right? Like Pulp Fiction. Many people were like, this is terrible.
Right.
You need both sides. Hollywood generally doesn't have the second side. The people that hear the good idea and go, that's a good idea. And the few that do hear it and think it's a good idea are afraid they're going to get fired if they push it. If I just had that, I'd go crazy. The other half of what comics gives me is everyone is beholden to Hollywood. Like, beholden to the studios, beholden to the financiers, the reps. I get to go in there and be like, if you don't want it, I don't give a fuck. I work in comics.
Right.
You guys have nothing against me.
Right.
I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that's really powerful, and that scares them. It's really powerful. It's how I got Bloodshot made. It's how I was so involved in Bloodshot, because I just kept being like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to say I'm never going to work in this town again? Whatever, your town sucks. I'll go back to comics.
That's amazing. Yeah, I don't like it here. It smells. I'll see you guys later. Yeah. And I got to ask, I mean, we keep bringing up the Bloodshot thing. Yeah. Vin Diesel for Bloodshot, like, did he know about that character before? I mean, was he a Bloodshot fan?
No, he didn't.
No?
He is a nerd. He's not a comic book guy necessarily.
Right. I knew he played D&D. Yeah, I knew he was into that stuff.
He loves like Warhammer, that stuff. He's like fantasy oriented more. Which is like more like Riddick, sci-fi fantasy.
Right.
Bag.
Yep.
But he obviously knows comics from playing Groot. We went to, I always wanted, he was always mine. Whether he's the right choice or not, he was my favorite for it. So I was very happy that we got him. We went to a few others for it. We went to Jake Gyllenhaal, couldn't do it for schedule. Went to Tom Hardy, gave him two choices because both Sony movies. He picked Venom instead, which is a heartbreaker. He would have been great. Yep. Went to Michael B. Jordan. Schedule couldn't do it. Although he wrote us a really nice letter when the trailer came out saying he wished he'd done it. It looked awesome.
Oh, cool.
And then another one, and then he gave us a call when the movie came out saying the same thing. And then Jared Leto. I'm trying to think, there was a couple others. Channing Tatum. I was, fingers crossed. I hope that didn't work out. I think, trying to remember who else.
I mean, Vin Diesel was a great pick for it. I mean,
Dwayne Johnson at one point, I think. Yeah. But so Vin was like the head of the studio. Tom Rothman wanted Vin. I secretly wanted Vin, but I didn't have the clout to get it through. And the other producer works with Vin a lot on Fast and Furious. So I think he was afraid of doubling up on his golden goose. So he wasn't really pushing it. But Tom Rothman went straight to Vin with the script. And then Vin had a meeting with, I'm saying Vin like I know him because I've worked with him now, but I realize I sound like an asshole.
No,
Vin Diesel, Mr. Diesel, had a meeting with our director.
Mr. Diesel.
Mr. Diesel.
That's amazing.
Sorry, that hit me just right.
Yeah, that was great.
he's very smart. He's a very strange character, Mr. Vin Diesel. You laughed, and it reminded me of a moment at like 4 a.m. where he had me come over to his penthouse to because he was very happy with the way that I was producing the movie. He had me come over, tell me stories and stuff. And I remember the end of that night was me backing away into the elevator. He had a 2-story penthouse, and him doing impressions for me. Him being like, "You don't want to stay longer," and I'm like, "I'm really tired, Vin." And he's like, "You don't want to hang out with Groot, Riddick, Iron Giant, Dominic Toretto?" And it was awesome, but also being like so tired. I'm like, "What is he really doing impressions? Do you want to stay longer?"
How do you say no at that point, man?
How do you say yes?
How do you say yes? Yeah,
like,
I don't
know.
Yeah, right. That's amazing.
Because it's a surreal, right? You're like, how did I get myself in this position?
Yeah, how did I get here?
I don't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
So he had a meeting with Dave Wilson, and Dave had a big conference room, and he put the whole script up in storyboards. We had a bunch of art built, and he walked Vin through the movie. Vin had already read the script, but just in case, walked him through the movie, and Vin had brought his kid, his youngest son, and his youngest son is there the whole time. This is what I've been told by Dave, and we had statues and all the stuff, and at the end, they're having a chat, Dave and Vin, about the thematics, and the little kid says, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and Vin Diesel says, "Yeah, Dominic," and he says, "Daddy, I want you to be Bloodshot."
Really?
And Vin's just like, I guess I got to do it.
Right.
I guess I got to play him.
That's amazing.
It was thanks to the kid. And if you don't like the movie, you blame the kid.
Right. Yeah.
It's his fault.
That's his fault. Yeah, for sure.
So sticking with that, like, was that really supposed to be the start of like a Valiant cinematic universe, or is that all kind of talk from fans?
No. It was meant to be. It was never meant to be something we were talking about publicly. Look, I'll tell you how it happened and why it happened. It'll make more sense. It all came out because of the Sony hack, right? So there was the North Korean hack of Sony after the movie Interview, the movie The Interview. Every email that Sony ever had was going to get out there, and I got a couple calls from like the Old Reporter, Variety, Bleeding Cool, saying, "We found these emails about a cinematic universe, Harbinger Wars, all these movies. We're going to run a story." And I said, "Well, you give me 2 hours. I'm gonna release it." So I got a press release together. I put it out there. That's why I got out there, so we control the message. But the thinking was this: Sony asked us to come in and pitch them a bunch of other Valiant properties, and we said we want to do one with you. We want to do another with someone else. And they got a little frustrated with us. Then they did their own research and had a big meeting where they pitched us 7 more titles. They want to do Ninjak. They want to do Eternal Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
We said no, which is like, what are you doing? Why are you saying no to a major studio? But we really wanted to have them compete, to try and get them to get the things into production, which would have meant it was more difficult to get a shared universe, right? Which of course all the fans want,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not Marvel. So wasn't trying to win the gold medal and set a world record at the same time.
Right.
But they were frustrated with us, and they felt we were being bad partners. So we'll tell you what, why don't we do Harbinger, which is not one of the 7 they wanted to do? And they said, well, that's not one of the ones. It's probably one of the worst ones. We said, no, actually, we think it's the best. And so I put together this document, this PDF of why it was the perfect fit. Bloodshot, Harbinger, they're connected. Bloodshot's a Harbinger hunter. You could do a sequel of each, introduce Gen Zero, introduce Hardcore, and then bring them together in this story called Harbinger Wars. And they really liked that. And I said, it's like a 5-movie shared universe. Mm-hmm. And if the first one works, we do a Harbinger. If that works, we do this 5-movie thing. If that works, you got a whole series of franchises then, which they really liked. So we started working on that. And we had Eric Heiser wrote Bloodshot. Eric also wrote Harbinger, an amazing script, incredible script. We had Maria Melnick write. She did the Escape Room movies and a bunch of shows. She did a Faith movie. We had a Hardcore movie in the works. A Speak Weapons TV show in the works. All these things germinating, like development. But when DMG took over, Sony didn't really like them and didn't want to work with them anymore. They're difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Those guys.
That's unfortunate. I mean, you could have had something building up to like a really cool event,
Yeah. Paramount bought the rights off of Sony for Harbinger, so they're Paramount. I think they're moving forward slowly. There is a lot of movement on Bloodshot. It did really, really well. It hit a bunch of records. Bloodshot is, I believe, officially the longest running movie in American cinema history, thanks to the pandemic. I think Jaws is the longest, and then now Bloodshot's broken that record.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's literally still in theaters somewhere in America.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Because of the pandemic. it's Sony's, I think, second highest grossing digital title ever, and its third highest grossing home video title ever. Again, thanks to the pandemic.
Right.
So it's done very well.
Right.
And there are, I shouldn't say what, but there's more. There's more that's being developed. We're trying to go off the ground.
Sorry, I keep crossing my fingers for Exo Manowar.
God, can I tell you what we were doing at Exo Manowar?
Oh,
it breaks my heart. So here's what we had. We had Joe and Anthony Russo, the directors of the Avengers movie.
Yeah.
They were our partners on that. Joe Russo was writing the script for Exo Manowar, and the plan was
he was writing the script for It would have been perfect.
He himself.
It would have been perfect. Oh God.
And they were talking about directing it after Avengers 4. And then when I got forced out, they didn't want to stay with Valiant anymore. They didn't like DMG either. And they walked off. And then they put Cherry into that slot. So when they made Cherry, that period was meant to be XO. And so, in a different world, we would have had an XO movie right now.
Oh, man. A Russo brothers XO movie.
That just broke my heart, man. You just broke my heart.
Okay. I'm going to double down. The other project I did with them was a Quantum and Woody TV show.
Oh, okay? No. So, are you kidding me?
So they come from television, comedy.
Yeah,
they
right.
did Community. They did Arrested Development. They won Emmys for this stuff. So that's actually what they're best at. As good as they are superheroes and they're amazing at it, that's what they're best at. So we were doing a Quantum Woody TV show with the writers of Ant-Man, two writers, Lauren Ferrari, with Paul Rudd co-writing.
Oh my God!
With Paul Rudd voicing the goat. Okay, we had Joe McHale on board to play Woody. We didn't have a Quantum yet, and we were having a conversation about Don Cheadle, and I said he's a little old, and they said, well, he would want to be involved. What can we do with him? And I pitched them. Now Marvel's doing a bigger version of this. We were doing a jokey version of like a take on Crisis on Infinite Earths. We were doing a story that we never got to release called Crisis on Infinite Woodies.
Oh,
Woody breaks the multiverse, and you get all these different Woodies.
Oh my God!
And just like there's a crocodile Loki, there was a crocodile Woody, and there was all these stupid Mr. T Woodies.
Yeah.
And Joe and Anthony loved this, and they started calling. Like I remember being in the room. I was in Atlanta. They were shooting Avengers, and I got to go down and be on set for a little while. And then we had a meeting over the weekend, and they were like texting and calling, and they were like, "Scarlett's in, Downey's in," and they were all going to play in the last episode little cameos of Woodies, different Woodies.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there being like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have the biggest show on television. The Avengers are going to cameo, and Joe and Anthony are going to join the pilot."
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and all of them. Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy.
We sold it to TBS. TBS was super excited. And
Quantum and Woody is like the best buddy cop story.
Yeah, I hope they make something out of that. More comics, a TV show, something. I love that book.
Man, we can't steal any more time, Dinesh. I mean, this has been such an awesome interview. We got to have you back on in a few months if you want to just talk more stuff with us.
Anytime. Talk anything.
I just like. You clearly have a love for comics like we do, and it just trickles through all the work that you're doing. I mean, because you set out, like you said, you read comics and you would get one comic every month or something, and then it turned into like this awesome love for what you're doing, and it definitely shows when you speak about it. So it was such a pleasure having you.
You guys see like this angle here?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's nice and clean. If I turn the camera around, it's like CGC books. It's like piles of old EC books. It's just like comics. Disgusting.
Yeah, all mine's in storage.
A little bit here.
All mine's in storage. That's awesome.
Let's see if we can see
that. Oh, there you go. There's the madman at work. Yep.
Just
perfect.
So many comic books.
Awesome.
Too many.
Yeah.
My wife hates it.
That's all right. Yeah.
She has no choice.
That's why mine are in storage. They're out of sight, I guess.
I don't trust that. Do you trust that? I hear stories all the time.
Well, so my storage is in my building, so it's like right around the corner, and it's like climate controlled, all that stuff. I'm pretty anal about the comics, so yeah, I won't keep them off site. They have to be at least like 20 feet from me.
You got to be able to run down and get them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
so
thanks, guys. This is awesome.
So Dinesh, when you announce Bad Idea 2.0 or whatever, we'll reach back out and we'll have you back on.
Do you guys have names? I love that people keep saying that. It's given. Honestly, we steal the ideas. So we've been thinking if we are going to figure out how to come back, we got to have a good name.
Yeah. All right. We'll
brainstorm.
Yeah, we'll brainstorm. Please. We got some stuff working.
You got to do me a favor though. If you come back, you got to call DC up. They got this character they're doing nothing with. They're
Which one?
They're just throwing money away by not doing anything with this character. His name is Codpiece.
I don't know if you've ever seen him.
No,
he's a
codpiece.
Codpiece.
He's a man in a suit with a codpiece that has a gun coming out where his let's just say his dick would be.
Holy shit!
It's a Grant Morrison character, right? Or no, it's immediately after.
It is literally the issue after Grant Morrison leaves Doom Patrol.
Yeah, it's the issue after Grant Morrison leaves Doom Patrol.
I haven't pitched.
There's a panel here where he's shooting out of the codpiece.
Yeah.
Yes.
A boxing glove.
Yeah.
Into someone's face.
Oh, we know it. We talk about this all the time, dude.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
It's been a minute since I pitched this. They literally have done nothing with this character since that issue.
Rob Venditti, I think
I want a toy.
Yeah, I know. They need to make
Rob?
Yeah, we told Rob. It was in while he was doing Green Lantern, right? Because he had some. Who did he have? He had Goldface show up, and I was like, dude, how do you not have Codpiece instead of Goldface? Like, come on, dude.
Did he know who Codpiece was?
No, I don't think he knew.
Nobody does.
Nobody at DC knows. They don't even know he exists. Like, we've been telling the DC writers about him.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's insane.
So if you want to make all the money, just go talk to DC and be like, I'll take them off your hands. It's fine.
I'm gonna call DC.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call Jim Lee himself.
Yeah.
No, who runs DC now?
Who the hell knows?
I think Jim Lee does.
I think it's pretty much Jim. Yeah. But
so now that I got that ran out of my head, Dinesh, if people want to follow you further, where can we send them?
It's Bad Idea's website, badideacorp.com.
Perfect.
Or any of our social media, Bad Idea Hello.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
It was so much fun, and good luck with all the future projects you got going on.
Yeah, thanks, and everybody out there, remember all the links down below to Bad Idea, Dinesh's Twitter, and Bad Idea's Twitter. I'll have those in the show notes. So
appreciate it, guys.
Thanks. See you soon.
Bye, guys.